Majo John Madden from El Diamante, Mexico, in Veracruz State, Central Mexico. I've been here 3 weeks, and yesterday thought I just got to get out of here quick, but I'm not going to be able to get out of here quick because I found out later on yesterday that there's more work to be done with my car than I can even afford in 1 month. So hopefully double load, 2 trailers. Very, very common in Mexico and very common on this carretera, which is an interstate highway. I'm pretty sure it's not even legal in the U.S. The last I heard about U.S. is that they're introducing new safety standards for safety brakes. And it's good. When those are full loads, I don't know if he's got a full load, it seemed kind of light. When those are full loads, that's got to make it really hard to stop. And I did do a video the other day about the longest one I have seen, which was 2 very long trailers. So this is a movie review. I want to do a movie review about an old movie from the 90s, maybe 97. I'll put a link to it. Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt and Greg Kinnear in As Good as It Gets. Now back then, I was still firmly imprisoned in the notion that I had a mental illness. The psychiatrist had wrongly convinced me to think of myself that way. And for 30 years, I held myself that way and took terrible drugs that made it hard, just very hard to heal. And for the last 4 years, I've been great. I tell that story lots of places. But when I was just totally locked in feeling terrible, at the worst, I remember so well, this would have been in the 90s. I was living on the north side of Chicago and so pathetically distraught. I just felt awful. I just would lay in bed feeling terrible, terrible, terrible. I mean, they had destroyed my self-concept. I was a psychologist and was led to believe that I was damaged goods. And so in pain, so in pain. That movie, As Good as It Gets, I remember so well as the only movie that was able to budge the needle for me. It made me happy. And I'm watching it again now, and it makes me happy all over again. Jack Nicholson does such a great job really set the stage of what an awful, terrible person, mean to everybody and mean to himself, and just really obsessive compulsive to the max, and just a sad human being, and how the love of a woman and a dog starts with the dog. The inroad was the puppy. I'm only about 40 minutes into it or less, but you get to see how he starts to melt. His heart starts to open up again. One of the organizing themes of my whole 4 years and now 3 years full-time travel comes from Brené Brown, wise woman for our time, dialectic between open heart and solid boundaries. And I had been really devoted to open-heartedness for years. I would say that's the only thing I really want, is to open my heart. But I have realized that solid boundaries are as important. And I've gotten good at that, amazingly good in the last 4 years, astonishingly good. We got a mix master going in the kitchen here. This is the restaurant O'Reilly where I've hung out for 3 weeks. And there's a young woman here. I keep thinking about that movie because it's him and a much, much younger woman, Helen Hunt. And there's a much younger woman here who they keep trying to set me up with. So I will stay, because they really believe that why would anyone ever leave this place, even though it's in some ways pretty bizarre and way too small for this big city guy. I don't want to live in a big city, but I need more stimulation than you can get in the environs here. So what I came away with from that 40 minutes of the movie last night was, my first year of the COVID, I was running the back roads of Appalachia in my camper van with my little dog Chihuahua, but we'd go back to Asheville. And because I had a camper van and because I had very deep roots with the homeless community in Asheville, I began a practice that my buddy Eric, I had taken in 2 important friends off the street into my apartment to help them get their lives back together. One, a guy I'd known a long time and had been roommates with him before, but when I found him homeless, I said, hey, come stay with me. The other was Eric Freeman, an extraordinary blues guitarist who I just found on the street, and he was so talented and such a good guy. I had him come into my place for a couple months. So through Eric, I got really introduced to the homeless community, and I was technically and legally homeless by traveling in a camper van, and Social Security check never made it to the end of the month, so at the end of the month I'm always poor, so far even in Mexico with big car repairs. So I began to practice. Eric taught me. Eric was a big, strong, strapping black man, gorgeous women. He was just he was like bees to honey, women to Eric. But he would bring back homeless hookers to our apartment, not to have sex with them, but to get them off the street, to give them a break from the cold, just because he had a big heart. And I had never met a homeless hooker before then, but I got to know some, which is really great. And I developed that style myself in my 3 years on the road now. Total, I think, of 7 young women I've taken into the van, not sexual, but loving and caring. And the one that touched my heart the most was a woman named Sam, who was a multi-problem, pretty fabulous young girl, 23, homeless hooker, cokehead, with so much trauma in her history. And I had been saying through that first year of the COVID, that my first year on the road dovetailed with the first year of the COVID, that having my dog to take care of kept me sane. That whereas I saw other homeless people just go purely into survival, just take care of themselves, I had a little being who needed my help. And with Sam, I had not just a being, but a human being who was so fragile and vulnerable and so sharp and cool and funny. And my heart opened incredibly. And all I wanted to do was to help her life. Just do something to make her life a little better, because it was so crazy and out of control. And in the short term, certainly I did that. Did I have any impact long term? I sure will never know, because I've lost track of her. At last call, her family had lost track of her too. So watching Jack Nicholson with Helen Hunt, he just wants to be a better man, and he wants to help her life. He's got resources, he's got money, he's got pull, he's got leverage with hospitals. He wants to help her life be a little better, and that's what I wanted with Sam, and it really clarified what I want with this Marissa here. I want to be a good impact on her. I want her and the whole O'Reilly family to always say that I was a good guy and I was good for her, and I could help her feel better about herself. It's my specialty, is affirmations, validations. And I've already started that process, and that's already in play, really, with everybody I encounter. But she has said she does want to go to the beach with me, and I thrive on being at the beach, and I've been stuck here in town, but now I have a little money and can take taxis to the local beach. And she wants to go and bring her 1-year-old. So I just want to make a difference. I would like her life to be a little bit better. That's not much to want, right? I seem to be able to do it, not consistently, not always, but a lot of times I do. Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.